Hello everyone, it's Schwerpunkt here, and yes, it's that time of the year again. Well, in the evening you sit on your sofa drinking a glass of port in front of the fireplace while it snows outside and everything is magic, and you feel that little tickling in your heart because another year has gone by and past memory comes back to mind, and that makes you reflecting on this world and this journey we're going in through, and makes you melancholic, and you wish you had spent your time better, you wish you had done more things for new years. You have many different new wishes and of intentions, aims and objectives, but past experience proved that you were probably not too good about that anyway. Or maybe you were, I'm just kidding now. Using this comedy tone just to introduce hopefully happy holidays for all of you. I really wish it from the bottom of my heart. I care very much about my followers, even if I don't know you, even if I don't have, in this sense, personal attachment, because I don't know you, with a very few exceptions up to this point, personally, let's say. And but I do feel the bond here, the fact that you come on my videos, that you watch them. You don't know, I don't know what you think about them. Maybe it's not even important, but I see that you listen to me, and this is very nice. This is very kind of warming in some way. And I talk like this just because I think that this is really an important moment of the year, in which whichever your spirituality lays, it's really an important moment for reflecting about all things past and future. Yesterday was the winter solstice here in the northern hemisphere, and it is. It's a moment of it's very magic. There is this etheric run of the sun of the sun towards the darkness for all the autumn. You can perceive that. You can perceive this kind of ghostly atmosphere, this slow, etc., and then arrives here at the peak of darkness, and the sun starts rising once again. And this is a beautiful picture. This is a moment of the year which many people, as felt very deeply this bond with spirituality. I mean, particularly in this moment of the year, as in others. But this one is about this, essentially. If you think even about the beginning of January, what the Romans thought, like with the Januarius, that with this, with Janus, double face, one looks at the future, one looks at the past, and this is what kind of happens at this point, that we do see these years going by as passing moment of our lives. It's not easy, right? It's this experience of ours that we get into without knowing, and that's why this is a journey, essentially, to discover the world, but also to discover ourselves in relation with this world, right? Because we give meaning to this world, and therefore what we do in here really is what matters for many things. I believe that this whole interest in that we have in history takes into account exactly this passion, this interest, this curiosity that we have to understand what what is that all these cycles eventually come to change. We have adopted a linear view of time. This mostly happened with the arrival of Christianity, with its eschatological view, and that's a very important way of looking at history. But this time of the year also gives us the impression of the cyclicity, right? I must say, and the older I obviously I get, this happens with anyone. You start perceiving more concretely this cycle, right? When you're a kid, you wait for Christmas. Is like when you're a kid, every year seems like entire ages, right? You feel that it's a lifetime, that everything can change. You don't even essentially think much about the future, and the reason is because you're focused so much on the becoming, right? On what happens next, step by step. Essentially, because you still have to learn a lot of things that that age seem amazing, and you're programmed at that age to look at the world through those eyes. Which is not even an age, telling the truth. I mean, childhood is not properly an age because you don't quite perceive the temporal depth of it. I always cared telling the truth about it, but I do realize that there are certain things that when you're a kid, you can't fundamentally realize, but also others, sadly enough, but importantly enough, that when you grow older, you've come to lose, right? And you realize them, in my opinion, exactly in this moment of the year in which you reflect more on this time past, and you take a pause during the holidays and you reflect on it, and you think about your past holidays. And of course, and here we're talking about kind of a Christian background. Of course, many of you, I know that they're not Christian, maybe even other religions with other times of the year, festivity. So I know this, and you experience that as well in the same measure, and because we have come to consider the year in this fashion, and that's where you stop in a while and you think of these memories of your family, of when you were little, when everything seemed magic, and these moments had a very special meaning that objectively the more time goes on, the more you tend to lose at one point. Right? You don't feel it anymore. I must say, I love the Christmas period, holidays. It's more about the approaching. It's more about the wait, right? The waiting, and especially I love autumn a lot. I think it's my favorite season. Definitely, a lot of people love spring and summer. It's mine. And over the years, when I was a kid, I loved summer objectively. Not only because there was no schooling there, but also, and so therefore I went on vacations. I went see, and it was cool. Also, I was born in summer as well, so I had this, and I still have, of course, this attachment to that season. But when I grew older, first of all, I got completely, intolerant to heat, to hot weather, and therefore I preferred kind of colder moments. But over time, and I began to appreciate the beauty of every moment of the year, looking at the cycle as, in fact, a period that always changes, so that every moment in the year, like every season, every month, even every day, right? There are certain days, I don't know what you think about it, during the year you feel that there is that kind of feeling, because objectively there are certain changes. I don't know, and basing on the astronomic cycles, there are certain things that change in certain parts of the world, certain, the atmosphere, obviously, the temperature, the light. So you get those similar impressions sometimes, and I start appreciating like all of them, like they all make sense, because this is all unequal ground. Like it's a cycle. There is no deformity into it. It's always the same. More or less, and you recognize this moment as a special moment. And to me, autumn has this, in fact, this most beautiful, strongly sentimental and romantic, but even violent character. Like I feel it very much. Consider humans have, peak, the hormonal peak is in autumn, because of the effort you must make even to entering winter, to be kind of more ready to that. So yeah, things that we live detached from now in this time of civilization, but still have some consequence in our biology that is that fits our existence in a way or another. Um, I know I'm probably saying a lot of weird things today. I don't really know why. But what I wanted to tell you, really and truly, is that um, every time I talk about history with you, I do feel the syntony that this uh, human journey entails. Like as I was saying before, I think that our common interest for history is exactly this philosophical status, right? This existential sentence. This is a sentence, right? That, however, entails, contains the seeds of our redemption. No man is beyond redemption, and we all can do uh, much within our limits, much more than we can actually expect. And this is the beauty of life, in my opinion. I think when it comes to Christmas in itself and the true meaning of it, aside, you can't have, as we were saying before, all the spiritual background that you want, but you can't put aside, let's say, the deep philosophical meanings here. That is that it is a celebration, not even just of human life. We don't celebrate just a birth. We celebrate humanity, right? This is the true meaning of Christmas. It's the happiness of being human, right? Not considering our humanity, our existence as a just as a condition we can't escape, like a sentence as I used before, because the revelation came necessarily through the death of Christ, right? And so that represents the limits and the most atrocious sufferance that humanity endures constantly, right? At every level, we are I think most of us is particularly lucky to live in the condition we do, and in the with the possibilities that we have. The world in its entirety is not like that, and sufferance doesn't. Can't be commented. It's the great. It's the great question. It's the great darkness, if you want, that humanity doesn't have the mean to understand. And this is what many religions actually talk about. It's setting the limits of human knowledge. In a way, it can be beneficial for the same human health, meant in its broadest but also more substantial meaning. And so this is not fairy tale. This is not a moment of the year to say, okay, well, you're so happy, point. No, we should think about sufferance. We should think about the burden that we carry and the potential that we have. Because this is essentially, if you take holidays, you can do whatever you like on holidays. I usually never go on vacations on Christmas holidays because it's full of people everywhere and I don't like it. I can still decide when I want to go on vacations. So I usually do it, in more peaceful moments in this sense. So, but I realize everybody, they go on vacation, they relax. It's just even a sensorial moment, a pleasure, eating, of feasting, and being in company of people you love and having fun. But there should be also a moment of reflection. It should be a moment of looking at this peak of darkness that this period of the year, at least in the northern hemisphere, entails. And metaphorically, and observing the non-granted reality that the sun will rise once again, right? This is the sun will rise, obviously, once again, as long as it will rise in people's hearts and spirits. and as long as we will remain human. Um, but it's up to us. That's entirely up to us, because the world that exists has been given to us. That's the point. We are responsible for it. This is probably one of the most important aspects that I also underline when I talk about uh, war and the Krieg, etc. This is a matter of responsibility. That's where ethics stands for. Um, these philosophies do not tell us essentially what choose to make. They're not manuals saying, okay, well, this is the time of situation, just behave like this and everything will be fine. No, it takes a discipline to attain it that passes through you, yourself, putting yourself into the game and struggling in order to make a difference, to do something positive about it. So this is hopefully naturally what we try to do every day, from the smallest things to the biggest ones. But it's never enough, sadly, and that's why it's important to think about the sufferance of the world, because we always underestimate how much we can do. And this is not a matter of, becoming like superheroes, like good Samaritans at all costs. That's not entirely what it means. We shouldn't betray our individuality in the process. We shouldn't annihilate ourselves for no reason. We shouldn't destroy ourselves. We should try to make a compromise, right? Even if we know that we are flawed and that we will make mistakes, that things will go wrong, that we will not be strong enough, we won't have the strength, and we will come to doubt of ourselves, we will even come to doubt of our principles and what we think it matters, but that at least we have tried to make our best. This is the most important thing, right? We have opened ourselves to the idea of making a difference, a positive difference to our world, and I know this message will probably not appeal much to nihilists and all those who think, well, there is nothing, we don't care. That's an option as well. This is not even a matter of religion. This depends on, there are many believers and non-believers that have respectively the opposite take on the story. So it's completely transversal. This has nothing to do, if you want, even with religion in itself. This has to do with a deeper meaning that we have given as a culture, as a civilization, throughout our history, to the value of humanity. We do on Christmas. We celebrate humanity. We celebrate the fact that the divinity has taken a human form, right? That shares with us what our sufferings, and this is probably the greatest confidence in humanity that you can ever have. Because if you interpret this anthropologically speaking, it means it's terribly empowering, right? It's almost like it's dangerous, right? It's not like we should be happy about beauty. Like, think about, what is there more beautiful as a picture, I would think, like of a mother with her child. I have difficulties to think at different. There is it's more than beauty in itself. There is a feeling of love and tenderness and affection that is. I wouldn't say it's what we search for. Like, of course, we all want to have, I don't know, a special person that we love and we can share our life with. But it's also about, it's not egoistic. It's about the ability of loving ourselves, and it's very difficult. It's one of the most difficult things of all. It's in you can't even measure it properly. It's one of the, it's unspeakable at one point, and we know that, of course, if you think even in the concept of original sin, what it entails, well, that's also a very powerful message, because it tells you that it doesn't matter how hard you try, you always have something that you will repent of, like you will regret, because that's how we're done. We are done. Paradoxically, our accomplishments pass through failure. through mistakes, and this is also the greatest message of all, that no man is beyond redemption, because as soon as you acknowledge your mistake and you really understand why it was wrong, well, then you become a better person. You lose part of what you were before, because nothing will be the same, right? Just like, we grow. As I was saying before, like with Christmas, we can't be like when we were children, and to feel the same things to do, and this tells us a lot about this earthly journey. It tells us that we do change, the time does pass, and we can't behave as if that didn't exist. That even if we do that, we will be sad and frustrated, because our life does have a meaning, and it's the meaning that we give it to it. And if it's a poor meaning, if it is, just pleasure in the sense of, to the end of it, for the sake of itself. Let's say we do know from psychology, from a lot of scientific evidence, that doesn't make us happy. As a matter of fact, the meaning of life is not even being happy. If you think, we would like to be always happy. I mean, honestly, happiness is something we perceive. It's even difficult to actually see and circumscribe, as there are other moments of sufferance fundamentally. So it's an illusion, as many things, just like time. There is in this sense a further change we can do. Like, we have to